Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, taking time out of your day to join us for Community and Your Career. My name is Roxanne Fenton. I am the Associate Director in Career and Professional Development. And we're going to talk about community building and networking today. Some high level, some very specific ideas. But overall, I wanted to share a quote to get us started. And this is a quote from an alum who I've worked with. You're going to hear from him in his own words later on in the presentation. But Alejandro Sandoval, who's a 2022 illustration alum, who's done a lot of work on networking and community building, said to me one time when we were talking, when you build your community, your network follows. And that's kind of the guiding principle for what I'm doing today. Why is community, why is having a network important? We know that just cold applying to jobs online does not always get us the best results. And that for a job search and also for advancement in your career, building a freelance customer base, having success in your career, getting through tough times, all of those things, we know that having people who can recommend you or advocate for you, support you, can play an important role in your overall job search and your overall career path. So that's why we're tackling this topic today. And I've got two goals for what we're going to do. One is to convey the importance of building community, and the other is to suggest some ways to build a network within that community. So those are my goals. And I have an agenda laid out for those of you who like a little roadmap from where we're going. So we're going to start by talking about who's in your community. We'll talk a little bit about building community and how you can get started. Then we'll talk about the importance of community. And we're going to circle back a little to getting to know people, because I think a lot of us were very intentional about building community when we were stuck at home during the lockdown phase of the pandemic. And we don't necessarily bring that back with us. With that, it's been a little harder to bring that same intentionality to community building since we've moved back out into the world. We're going to talk about your community as a network and a little bit about building your online network, though we have a workshop on Thursday that will go into greater depth on that specifically. And then giving and getting within your network. I would like to start with a group poll to get us all thinking about community. So I'm using Slido. If you've been in our recent workshops, you've seen this. This is a new tool that we have that we like. You can scan the QR code, or you can join at www.slido.com. And if you go to the website, then you enter that code number to join and be able to type your responses. So I wanted to start us off by thinking about who are we in communities with, whether you feel like you have one community or many communities. What are some of the groups or types of people who make up your community? Designers, friends. That's our three folks who were typing early, but I know it takes a little bit to get connected to Slido. So faculty, artists, winemakers. That's a cool community to be a part of. Friends, again, storytellers, entrepreneurs, everybody at Art Center, your parents, your family, leaders, creatives, faculty. I see we've had multiple people enter friends. You can go ahead and enter more folks. If you want to make some of these get bigger, you can enter more answers and we can see who people where overlap is in who's in our communities. BMX racers and cyclists, cohorts from Art Center, creatives, people who have jobs are in your community. Yes, absolutely. Biz dev artists are in your community. Fashion designers, brand designers, VR developers. Okay, so we'll get a couple more on here. Film department faculty. Anybody else want to enter? And then we'll close this one out in just a couple minutes. So last chance to add to this one. All right. Thank you all for that, joining in on that exercise. That's a great list of people who are in our various communities. And I want to think about those people in our communities in the roles that they can play in helping us in our career. So these specific 3 words, these 3 categories are from a book called Designing Your Life. So I just want to give credit where is due. And that is these 3 groups that we have, which are supporters, participants, and intimates. And the people in these 3 groups play different roles in our life. Supporters really are those cheerleaders. Those are the people who are good at talking you up, who are able to cheer you on, help you celebrate your successes. Participants, and people can move into and out of these different groups, I think, but participants are the people who are actively doing things. So not just cheering you on, but maybe making a recommendation or, putting you forward for a promotion if you're doing that kind of work, or recommending you to a client of theirs if maybe you're doing freelance work. There are people who are actually doing things that help you in your career. And then we have our intimates, and these are the people closest to us. These are maybe the people that we live with, our closest friends, our family members, romantic partners. And these are often the people who are the most affected by our careers and our career choices. But they may be people who have priorities that are a little different than our priorities for our career. So they may also be supporters, they may also be participants, but they may also just be the people who are there going through life next to you. And then I wanted to talk about a couple of other active people who can help you as part of your career and part of your community. And that's mentors. And in designing your life, they really separate a really great mentor from an advisor. And I just wanted to share this difference with you. A mentor is someone who counsels you, someone who is trying to help you figure out what you think. Someone who gives you advice is telling you what they think. And the difference in focus there is important. Advice, you've probably been warned, is just as good as it's worth what you paid for it, right? So if you got free advice, it may not be worth much. What we hope to find along our journey are mentors who can counsel us, someone who can really help you figure out what you want to do, what your priorities are, what your values are, and help. They may draw on their own experience to help you do that, but the focus is on you rather than on them. And then there's another type of community member, and this comes from The Squiggly Career, which is another book about career exploration and career building. And this is a sponsor, and a sponsor is someone who advocates for you. This might be a mentor, it might be a boss, it might be a family member. It depends on where you are in your career and what position you're at, but sponsors are even another level above that in that they're going to advocate for you to get something. So thinking about who you have in your community and what roles those people are playing can help you as you look to actively build your community and develop those kinds of relationships. So let's talk a little bit about building community. It is never too early or too late to build community. And so how do we go about finding people to be in our community? And I could tell that some of these came from your hobbies, some of the ones you put in our little word cloud, but pursuing your hobbies is great. Getting to know the people that you spend 5 hours a week with. Art Center has campus clubs that come up every term. Maybe you're, some of you are alumni, so classes and campus clubs are not so relevant anymore, but professional organizations can serve as those same kind of interest-focused groups to get people to know you. So professional organizations. And then you can do online outreach, which is, we'll touch on at the end of this, and you can attend our workshop on Thursday to learn more about online outreach when we do LinkedIn as a super tool. But what you want to do is you want to find your supporters and you want to find your participants. And hopefully along the way with that, you'll find some mentors and some sponsors as well. One of the things that we are going to do today that I haven't done before is we're going to lean on some recordings of some great workshops and events that we've done in the past to hear from some Art Center alumni about their experiences with community. So our first screen clip is going to be from 3 alumni who are all friends who met at Art Center or after Art Center. And you'll hear them talk in this order: Estella Say, Lori Nishikawa, and Therese Swanepoel. And we had them here last spring, and they are all part of a community that I would love to let you hear about. So I have to switch my share and go to Google Chrome. And I have to do it again because I have to remember to share sound. Oh no. Shoot. I'm on a new computer. And it doesn't want to let me share sound. Let's see if this will let you hear. Let me know if you can hear this video.
and something that I know the three of you have talked about a lot is your relationship to one another and this community that you've built and how impactful that's been for you. Can you share a little bit about how you all came to know each other, and maybe what that effect has had on your careers or your creativity?
I'll go. So I think the one interesting thing about us is we're all from different majors. We all graduated different times. It's not like we got to know each other in our specific classes. I know that I think most of us actually met through a Design Matters program, doing the transdisciplinary course where you get to meet people from across the aisle and really get to create together. And I think one of the things that was interesting is we really prioritized creating connections with each other because this is hard. Art center is hard. Being a creative is hard, especially with the challenges that we're facing today. It's only getting harder, and you can't do it alone. So um, I think we were lucky to recognize that really early on. So, when I was out, I couldn't even feed myself. Like Lori would bring food, and we were just taking care of each other. And I think that our camaraderie and our connection and our hope for each other to succeed really encouraged us to keep that connection going. I feel like this is a lifetime connection. One of my teachers, mentors, told me that the most valuable thing that you can walk away from at Art Center is the people that you meet, because these will be your peers, your friends, your family, especially someone as an international student with family so far away. Having these people in my life and then keeping these connections. We've all lived in different cities, but the connections were always there, and we're always there for each other to talk about budgets or getting a new job, contracts, anything. This is my tribe. I'm from South Africa. We have a saying, Ubuntu, which is I am because we are. So we really have fostered that in Art Center. As for me, at least, the biggest gift that I got from coming to Art Center was the people that I met, because it's a bunch of like-minded human beings that come here. There's very select few people that would be crazy enough to come here.
Yeah, to kind of like jump on that, like I think yes, we have these crazy careers and very like we have the successes that we've defined for ourselves, but truly like as it relates to each other, we are there for each other, not just for our work. It's like about life. Like when somebody has an accident, we're there for the medical stuff. We're like if somebody has a life emergency, like my friend or my dad passed away, they're there. You know, it's like it's not just the creativity. It's like we're there for life because we've already gone through so much together here and we respect each other so much and we understand our passions and what we want to do. Like, so that part, we don't even have to explain to each other. Like, our work is important to us. Check, like you don't have the, like when you try to make friends outside of a creative career, it's a different kind of friend, as I'm sure you guys know. Like, not everyone gets the creative part of it. So we already have this kind of like common denominator of like, we understand it, we get it. Like I support you in your business. I support you in your endeavors. So like I support you 100% across the spectrum, and that part is what makes us so good at our individual work, right? It's a village. It truly is a village, is Ubuntu, right? So like if we all support each other, then we all thrive. I also forgot we should show our work, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do we do?
Like
What do you do?
You.
Yeah, I think just to close out the friendship theme, one of the things that I think Art Center provides is a platform and a space for people to understand what you're passionate about and shared passions. And we're all Design Matters students because design does matter, but also when we met, I remember I met Therese in a Nike TDS. And I remember meeting Estella in a Design Matters class where she literally walked up to me and said, "Would you like to be friends?" So if
Hey,
any,
you.
hey,
Do you want to be my friend?
and I also was very persistent to become friends with this beautiful woman. But I think that if you think about, what do you really care about? You've dedicated your time and a lot of effort and resources to be here. At the end of the day, if you think about, who can support you and who really cares and who really understands what you're going through, that's going to be the people sitting right next to you. And I think that it's the most understated thing. If you hear people say the people matter, the people matter, yeah, the people matter. But if you don't have 5 people by the time you graduate where you're like, they're my ride or die, then maybe you could try out Estella's approach and walk up to somebody
them.
and ask them if they'd like to be friends. Because I remember hearing that from Estella and I was like, you know what? I would like to be friends. And I said yes, and we've been friends ever since.
Okay. So I think, I'm just checking the chat. Thank you, Eilish. If you would like to hear their whole, I think it was an hour-long conversation, moderated by our director, Alicia Alex, sitting on the left there of your screen. You can follow that link. They talked about a lot of great things about their careers, not only their friendship. Okay, let's go back to my slides. And that was actually Therese and then Estella and then Lori. I had them out of order, so sorry about that. Okay. So I have another Slido for you. I wanted to give us a chance to talk about what benefits you get from participating in your community or communities. And if that doesn't resonate with you, you can also answer, why is community important to you? So I'll just give you a minute to think about what you get from your communities. Perspective and new ideas, support, confidence, encouragement, jobs. Yes, jobs can absolutely come out of your community. Sounding board, friends, friendship. Yeah, these are great. Keep them coming. Got 2 more participants typing. Knowledge of new careers and emerging technologies. Yes, great way to stay up on your field. Honesty. Yeah, great thing to get from your community. All right, thank you again for contributing and sharing your thoughts. Let's talk a little more in depth about getting to know people. I lost my mouse. Got to get it back on the right screen. All right, let's talk about getting to know people. What I love and why I picked that particular clip from Estella and Lori and Therese is how intentional Estella was about going up to Lori and saying, hey, do you want to be friends? So it is okay to be intentional about getting to know people. And I think this is a particularly important thing to keep in mind as you get to know people in ways that are a little less organic. When you are reaching out to people for informational interviews, those short interviews where you talk to somebody and get to hear their life story or their career story so that you can know your industry better and that you can build your network. So you want to activate your curiosity about others. If getting to know people is daunting to you, think about what you would like people to know about you, and then talk to people about that. Ask them about themselves in the ways you would like to be asked about yourself. Because people like to talk about themselves. It's a great way to break the ice. And I'll get a little more specific about that in a minute. Give yourself a time limit. If this is hard for you, Say, I'm going to go to this in-person event, or I'm going to spend this much time on online outreach, and then let it be okay that it's over, right? You can go to an event that lasts for 2 hours and stay for half an hour, and it can be valuable for you. You can also give yourself a limit of like, I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to talk to 2 people, and then I have permission to leave. So it's okay to be intentional about meeting people. It's also okay to set limits for yourself for what you can manage as you're getting to know people. Really great way to get to know someone is to ask a question and then really listen to the answer. And if you don't like to talk a lot, this can be a great way to get to know people, is really you can be a great listener. If you are in person with someone, or even if you are online, you can do this. It's just a little more limited. Ask them about something you see on their outfit, on their backpack, on their accessories. If they've got a cartoon character or an anime character, or if they've got um, a button for a band or something, ask about those. Those are great clues and great interests. Likewise, you can wear or take something with you that might get somebody to ask you about your interests. If you are in person and you're trying to get to know people and they all seem to be all huddled up again, you can actually, kind of walk up and say, hey, can I join your conversation? Especially if you're at a mixer or a meeting event or a networking event. What are you all talking about? What are you working on? Are some great icebreakers to start to get to know people. Always, what are you watching, playing, reading right now? People love to talk about those things as well. And of course, if you're in class, you can always ask about how the assignment is going. So if you are looking to get to know people, you're looking to grow your network and to get to know more people who are in your field, who are in your area of art and design, you can make your own opportunities if the opportunity doesn't seem to be there for you. You can organize something. And when I say that, I mean something simple. How about a pizza working session when everybody gets together to do homework for the night and order a bunch of pizza and hang out? Or what about a coffee shop hangout suggestion for people that you met at a networking event? Gaming sessions, playing video games, playing board games. Organize a walk, organize a hike, or a museum outing. These can be very simple things where you just set a date and time, and who can show up can show up. And you can be careful about who you invite. But you can also just see what happens. And if it's a bust, well, you tried. Maybe the next one will work. And then, of course, if you're at Art Center, you can start a club if a club around your area of interest doesn't already exist. So just even in simple ways, even if you are not the most outgoing person in the world, or even if you are an introvert and you would like to hang out with just 1 or 2 other people at a time, you can organize something to get to know people and to build your community. All right, I'm going to come back to Alejandro and this quote about when you build your community, your network follows. He and I did a workshop last year around this time about networking at events, at industry events. And I'm going to play another clip here and share from his perspective this idea about how community and networking can feed off of each other. Okay, back to Zoom. Oh, I forgot to share sound. All right.
But yeah, so my whole idea, the whole idea of community building as a networking tool, which has been my approach for networking, started when I was in, I think I attended a talk a few years ago, and there was this recruiter from Disney who said, when you, networking isn't just about making friends that will find you work, it's about building a community and rising together. And I remember that idea resonated with me so much that I wrote it down, and I kind of followed through with that. And I realized after I graduated, having been to so many events, that this idea of digital, 21 years in APSG was quite a long run.
Oh,
Is, but I like to take that one step further. And like that quote from earlier, I like to say, we can exchange information and share ideas, but how can we also support and uplift each other in this industry? And I found that if we do that and we're active with that and we show that we care, that our network naturally does follow. And that's been very successful. It is to recognize that it isn't just about me as much as I want to have a thriving career in games. It feels just as good knowing that we can help other people in the industry succeed, especially when they're feeling like, down and they feel like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how to get to this thing, or I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to write a LinkedIn post. It's a rewarding experience, and it nurtures the soul.
okay. Sorry, I think I hovered we skipped backwards on that video clip, and I think it's because I hovered over the wrong part of the screen. But you get the idea. And now we're going to go into another video, and I'm going to stay on the video and then I'll tell you who's in it. This is from a panel, again, that Alicia did with some alumni who are freelancing successfully. And I want you to hear from them about the importance of having a community, having a network to getting freelance work. Oh, I did it again. Share sound.
They ended up moving to another company, and then they asked for work there. And then you start noticing that, you really start building like a collaborative environment by just being a good person to work with, and being really sociable and friendly. And that actually is as important as like your work yourself. Yeah.
Kudos to you for being like, I will try this. I will dive and do that. That's half the battle.
That is true. It is very much so.
Yeah, and literally echoing what everyone else is saying. But yeah, starting off for freelancing for me, it was really just like, oh, I'm in my off term and I feel like I actually have the time to like make the choices of like what I want to do and who I want to work with. So a lot of the first initial things that I started out with was like just letting a lot of my friends know, hey, I'm available to work if you need anything. So like when we talked about like you like letting your community know of like, hey, and usually they don't lead you astray. They're not gonna give you like this like janky, I don't know, job and just be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like usually these places that I freelanced with and for were like really incredible, and I've still kept those relationships too. And I think that's like why I'm like still continuing to freelance, just because I love working with these people. So yeah, it like even as like a full-time person, if they email me and like they're like, oh, we need some help, are you available? Like, yes, I got you. So yeah, just keeping those relationships and just like asking your community really did help me start out my freelancing.
Yeah, you made such a good point about both, finding new opportunities through your community, but also like growing your community through these opportunities and how just, it allows you to meet new people and kind of add people to your community in that way. And I think that's really great. That's such a good perspective. Awesome.
Okay, so I kind of let Alicia sum that up there. But we're gonna come back to this at the end of my talk, as I talk about giving and getting, and I think they really touched on that there. This idea of that you can ask your community for help getting work, and then building your community helps you find work. And that was specifically in the context of freelancing, but I think that can happen in many contexts. So that was among the people that you heard from. That was the people involved, the alumni involved in that panel. So let's jump, I want to wrap up here pretty quickly. Let's jump to building your community online. How do you build your community not in person? So first of all, start by following people who interest you on social media. The biggest useful social media platforms for artists and designers still seem to be LinkedIn and Instagram. Obviously, you want to interact with people's content. And then once you build up a group of people that you are connected with, you can take one day a week. It doesn't have to take over your whole life, where you respond to messages. You can always say thank you for your patience if you haven't gotten back to someone in a little bit of time. But then also post on what you're up to. Alejandro says people respond really well to selfies at events. So if you are out doing something, especially if you're doing something with other people that you can tag, that's a great way to let people know what you are up to without having to continually outreach to everybody directly. I do want to call out our LinkedIn as a super tool workshop, which is going to be taking place on Thursday, this Thursday, no, October 10th at 4 p.m. It's a little later in the afternoon. And Amy Gonzalez, our career advisor, is going to go over using LinkedIn to do a number of things, but including outreach and finding those informational interviews and building that network using LinkedIn. So wanted to give a little plug for that. And then I wanted to wrap up with this idea that within our network, we give and we get. And Alejandra touched on this. I think the freelancers touched on this. I think even Estella and Therese and Lori touched on this. And that is that you both give and get. So to get successfully, you want to ask people for specific assistance and ask for specific questions. So instead of asking someone, hey, do you have 30 minutes to take a look at my portfolio? Let them know, I'm applying for internships at these kinds of companies, and I really want to make sure that my portfolio is representing my skills in, let's say, packaging design really well. That is a much more specific ask, and you're much more likely to get someone saying yes to where they know how they're helping you and have a specific thing that they're looking for. On the other side, on the giving side, offer your assistance where you have skills or expertise or even just awareness. So one thing that I will do frequently on LinkedIn is when a post crosses my feed that I think is really relevant to someone, or I see a job that I feel like is really relevant to someone, I'll just quickly pass it along to them because they may not have seen it. And kind of, I don't post a lot, but I send people things as a regular part of what I do online. And that's part of my way of giving. So giving and getting is ultimately, where you start to get the benefits of your community and your career, whether that's getting things like honesty and friendship, like you all identified, or whether we're getting into more specific things like portfolio reviews, job recommendations, and those sorts of things. So let's recap where we've been. Big message today is community support is important, and that it's never too early or too late to build your community. Building a community builds your network, and you can do both by being curious about others, and then be ready to give and to receive, or to give and to get within your network. And with that, I am going to stop the recording and open up the floor for questions.